This is a piece of Fatwood. I collected this quite a while ago. I made a handle for a ferrocerium rod out of it. So if you're out there and you need some tinder, you can always scrape your handle of the ferro rod and you've got some Fatwood there you can light. But I thought I'd utilise this and make some pine tar. This stuff smells awesome. That's just like pure resin. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just little crystals on there. I can almost see daylight shining through it because it's so resinous. Alright, well it's the next morning. I've got a tin can, no holes or anything in this thing yet, and a little glass jar. I'm not going to need it till later. Get this open. But yeah, tin can, and I've got to punch a hole in the bottom of that from the inside. Right, punch a hole. So in the ground here I've got rocks, but in between there there's dirt. So that's where I really want this to hit. So it's right, I'm through. And what it also did was my can is no longer flat, it's sloping towards that center point. Alright, that's pretty packed. I could probably get a couple small pieces in there, but that's I think that's going to do. So how it's going to all go together, that's going to get buried in the ground, that's going to be positioned on top with dirt around there to seal it all off. Then I'm going to build a fire up around the outside and just keep that fire going for quite some time with the lid on. When it cools down, take this off carefully without getting dirt into my jar, and hopefully there'll be a small amount of pine tar in the bottom of this. Everything is so wet. We had so much rain last night. I'm sitting on the shovel trying to stop from getting a wet butt. All the wood's wet. We'll make do though. So I've got my jar in the ground. To take the lid off it, nice and clean inside. We want to keep it that way, so we just position that so it's level. We'll fill this dirt back in around this jar without flicking any into it, hopefully. And then we put our tin with our hole, put that on top. That was the sawdust that I got while I was sawing the Fatwood. So that's what I'm going to use to light the fire. When I started this fire, the wind was blowing that way. And now it's decided to swirl around and blow that way. So if it had stayed the way it was, the wind blowing that way, it would have taken the fire around naturally around my can. But now that it's blowing this way, it's not. Well, it will, but it'll be very slow. So now I've got to light another fire on the other side so that the wind can then blow it back to this side how I originally wanted it to. So this fire is nice and established now, burning all the way around how I need it to be. When I first started this fire, I had that Fatwood as kindling, and you could see the resin just oozing out of it as it was heating up, as it was on fire heating up. So that same process is going to be taking place inside that can, and because the bottom of the can is bowed down like that with a hole in it, it's naturally going to run down to that point rather than sit on the flat bottom of the can. And if the can's not perfectly flat, level, if you can slightly like that, you've got a hole punch through the center there, you're going to get a pool up of resin over here that can't get through that hole. But by doing what I did, even if your can's not completely level, the can is bowed down, so it's naturally going to run back down to that center point. But whatever works for you. You know, I'm just here doing my own thing, and if people want to follow from it, then so be it. This has been going for a couple of hours now, and I'm just going to let it go out. I'm just going to basically let it burn down to ashes, and then I can rake it all away, take the can off there and extract that jar out of the ground. Right, the moment of truth's arrived. Time to find out if this worked or not. That is awesome. I knew there was a fair bit of resin in that Fatwood. Carefully lift it up out of the ground. Yeah, so as you can see, that's a full jar of resin. Really happy with that return that I got off that. Man, that's awesome. So I didn't have a lot of time to work with this. Once I got it out, I had other things going on, and so I just put it in this jar, put the lid on it, but it's yeah, it's set solid. So I've got a solid block of pine tar. That's all right. I can heat that up, and as it heats up, it'll liquefy again. So that's all that's left inside. Big chunk of charcoal that's sort of fused together, but there's nothing in there that hasn't burnt. So everything has burnt all the way through. So I've got the most amount of resin out of it as I can possibly get. And that was going for, had the fire going for 2 hours, and then I just let it go out on its own. It even says premium jam, so it certainly is now. Thanks for watching, catch you in the next video.